Redi Cube Blindfolded has recently become very popular in the blindfolded community, so I've decided to make a tutorial on how to do it. This will not be the method that I used to get my world record, but rather a method that is much easier to learn. First, I will go over basic execution, then basic memorization, and then I'll do an example solve. At the end, I will go over some intermediate techniques that you can use to get faster. Before watching this video, I would recommend that you already be able to solve either a 3x3 or a pyraminx blindfolded, as that experience will come in handy. With that being said, let's get into the video. The first step to execution is corners. Corners always stay in the same place, so you only have to worry about orientation, and there are three possibilities. It can be solved, rotated clockwise, or rotated counterclockwise. If it is rotated counterclockwise, you want to rotate it clockwise by doing this algorithm: L prime, F, L, F, L prime, F, L, F. If it is rotated clockwise, then you want to rotate it counterclockwise by doing this algorithm: L prime, F prime, L, F prime, L prime, F prime, L, F prime. And you just basically do that for all of the corners. To solve edges, we use a process similar to old Pachman, but with a couple changes. First, edges always retain their orientation, so you only have to worry about getting the edge into the right spot. And second, you can't do a 2 cycle with edges, so you have to use 3 cycles and a slave buffer. So this is my buffer, UF, my slave buffer is LU, and the setup piece is FR. So I will set up a piece to FR. If it is an odd target, I perform this algorithm: L, F, L prime, F prime. If it is an even target, I do the reverse: F, L, F prime, L prime. So for almost every edge, you will set it up to here. So if the edge was right here, I would do 2 setup moves to get it in the right position, and then perform an algorithm. The one case that is different is the slave buffer. If you have to shoot to there, you just don't perform any algorithm. Now, memorization is quite simple if you know how to solve a 3x3 blindfolded. You can just use your corner letters for the corners and your edge letters for the edges. If you don't already know how to solve a 3x3 blindfolded, you can just learn SPEFs. I will include a link to a good example of that in the description. So to memorize corners, I basically only memorize the ones that are misoriented, since I don't have to do anything if they're correct. And to memorize them, I will memorize the letter of either the white or the yellow piece. So using SPEFs, this is E, and this is Q. So I'd memorize an earthquake, and then this is G, and this is T. So I'd memorize a goat. So an earthquake shaking a goat. And then the other 4 corners are already oriented correctly, so I don't have to memorize them. Memorizing edges is pretty straightforward as well, but there's a few tricks. So I'll start with the buffer and then see where that needs to go. So this needs to go here, which is U, and then that needs to go there, which is M. So I'd memorize an umbrella. And then this needs to go here, which is L, and this goes here, which is E. So I'd memorize a leopard. Now this is the slave buffer, so in execution I won't do anything when I get to the E, but I do have to memorize it. And that's because when you execute edges, you have to know whether it's an odd or an even edge, and even though you don't do any algorithms for the slave buffer, it still counts as a target. So if you didn't memorize it, and you instead went to this piece, which is G, you would execute this as an even target instead of an odd that it's supposed to be. So you do have to memorize the slave buffer even if you don't do any algorithms. So now I'm going to do an example solve. So the scramble is little f, b, little b prime, l, f, b, little l prime, l, l, little l prime, little r prime, f, little f prime, b, r, little f. So there's the scramble. First, I want to memorize corners. So these are solved I'll memorize this piece, which is J, and then that, which is Q. So JQ is jacks, and then these two are solved. I'll memorize this, which is L, and this, which is P. So LP is a laptop. So Jack's sitting on a laptop. I have the corners solved now. So now I'll move on to edges. Here's my buffer. That goes here, which is O, and that goes here, which is T. So an otter, and this goes here, that's L, goes here, which is U, so a luau, and then that goes here, which is M, and then there, which is W, so mu. So my first image is an otter going to a luau hosted by mu. And then W goes to E. This is the slave buffer, but I still keep it in my memo. So E, and then that goes to G. So I'd memorize an egg. And then that goes here, which is R, and that goes back to the buffer. So I've done 6 in my first image, and then EGR. So now I'm up to 9. But there's 12 edges, so I still need some more. This has not been solved, so I'll break into a new cycle here. So R, and then J, so an RJ cable, and then A, back to J, which is apple juice. So my second image is an egg wrapped in an RJ cable with apple juice being poured on it. So now I'm ready to solve the puzzle. I'll start with corners first. I had JQ, so J is right here. This needs to be rotated clockwise, so I'll do L prime F, L F, L prime F, L F. And then Q needs to be rotated counterclockwise, so L prime F prime, L F prime, L prime F prime, L F prime. And then L, that needs to go clockwise, L prime F, L F, L prime F, L F. And then P also needs to go clockwise, L prime F, L F, L prime F, L F. And now the corners are done. So I'll move on to edges. The first was an otter. O is right here. I'll set it up to the swap position. And then it's an odd target. So I'll do L first in the algorithm. L, F, L prime, F prime. And then undo the setup move. Next is T, which is right here. So I'll set that up. And then it's an even target. So I do F first. And then undo the setup move. So an otter at a luau. L is right here. So the setup move will be like this. And then it's an odd target. So L first. And then undo the setup move. And U is next. Set up to there. It's an even target, so F first. And undo. Next is M, which is right here. Set it up like that. L first. And undo the setup. Next is W. Set it up like that. F first, since it's even. Okay, the next letter is E, which is right here. I don't do anything because it's the slave buffer. And then I move on to G. Now this is an even target because it's the second letter of the pair. Because E counts as a target, you just don't do anything. So I start with F, execute the algorithm, then undo the setups. Next was R, which is back here. So I'll do setup like this, do the algorithm, and undo the setup. And then the next letter is J. I don't have to do any setup for this one. So I just do the algorithm. And then A. And finally, J again. And now the puzzle is solved. So now you know how to solve a Redi Cube blindfolded, but how can you get faster? So I'm going to show you a trick that you can use to solve 2 corners at a time instead of 1, which is a lot better. If they're both facing the outside, execute this algorithm, FL prime times 5, to solve them. If they're both facing towards you, you want to do F prime L times 5, just like that. If they're both rotated counterclockwise, execute this, F prime L prime times 5, F prime L prime, F prime L prime. And if they're both rotated clockwise, execute FL times 5. Just like that. A trick that will help you execute edges faster is to set up to a different location. So let's say your memorization is TA. Now the number of moves required to set up to here is kind of high, especially for A. So instead you can set up to M. So my target is T, I'll set up to M, and then it's the first letter of the pair, so I'll execute L, F prime, L prime, F, and then undo the setup. And now it's solved. A is the second letter, so I'll execute F prime, L, F, L prime. Undo the setup, and now it's solved. So as you can see, that required far less setup moves. The final trick to making your edge execution faster is to add a third setup location, which is R. So my letter pair right here is RG, both of which are far from J or M, but I can set up to R. So the first letter is R, which is already there. I want to do a Y prime, and then it's the first letter of the pair, so I'll execute this. L prime, F prime, L, F. And then the second letter is G, so I set it up to R, Y prime, and it's an even number, so F prime, L prime, F, L. And then undo the setup, and those are solved. So that's another case where you can make setup moves a lot faster by using a different setup location. All right, thanks for watching this tutorial on how to solve Redi Cube blindfolded. I hope that this helps. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments down below, or visit my Discord using the link in the description, and let me know how it goes.